If there's something in the world happening, in the government, in your family, at your job, in your relationships, something that's worrying you, stressing you out, then listen up. What if that person or situation is a muse for you to learn something about yourself, for you to hear what you need to hear? What is your spiel? What is the thing? What is the story you're telling yourself in your mind about the thing that you're worried or afraid of? If you're afraid, what is the story you say? I can't believe that person is dating so-and-so. I'm not free. They're taking away my freedom and it's not fair. Imagine if you just think about what you're saying. Why are you saying it? Why do you specifically need to hear it? Take the other person out of it. Imagine it's just a muse that's actually a mirror. That person or that law or the situation at large or in the office or whatever. Imagine if it was a mirror that was happening for you to see something about yourself that you don't yet know. The things you see in the media, opinions that you have about how other people should be living their life or what they should or should not think. How is that affecting you personally? When you can make it personal, you can learn something about yourself. This is the great cosmic mirror of life. And everything in our life is reflecting something back to us. So if you're feeling powerless or like somebody else has power over you and can control what does and does not happen to you, take them out of it for a second. The thing is, you feel powerless. Where else have you felt powerless before? If you actually allow yourself to be present with the feelings and the pain and the story, and you see where it's personally affecting you, how you got to feeling powerless, why do you feel like you're not free? Why do you feel like somebody has control over your body? Where else are you experiencing this thing in your life? Like whatever your spiel is, like you want to figure out what is this thing that you're so afraid of and what is it mirroring to you? And then make it personal and ask yourself, what is it mirroring to you about yourself? You see, all judgment is self-judgment. Where else have you felt like you don't have control over your life? Where have you acted like what you want doesn't matter? Where have you acted like you have no say or no control over what is happening in your body? Where have you felt powerless? Now, those are really big questions that you can really spend some time going into, but I'm going to keep going for this video. But truly, I would pause and really take time to reflect on these questions. If there's something that is triggering you and is creating fear in your body, what if for a moment you consider that the pain that you're feeling about the things in the world are happening inside of you? Not in the world, but inside of you. The pain is happening inside of you. It's not to say that you're not going to take action or stand up for something that you believe, but before you go out into the world and decide that you need to make some kind of a change, or you need to tell this person off, or you need to, create boundaries, or you need to go do something with someone, if you first address your trigger, you're going to create tremendous self-awareness and learn something new about yourself. If you have pain, the pain is pointing to something that will actually give you more freedom when you get the new awareness. So before you go out and try to fight against something, you have an opportunity to learn and integrate something within you. Because otherwise, if you're just angry or afraid, you're going to go trying to fix these things out of fear. And that's just not sustainable. And what it really does is it just adds energy to the thing you're afraid of. It just swings the pendulum and it keeps energizing it. So it just keeps giving energy to the thing that you're afraid of. Whereas when you can come from a neutral place, then you have more agency and more ability to understand perspectives and respond in a way where you're not emotionally reactive. This is going to keep you in your center of power. But when you're angry and upset and you're mad at the world and you want the world to change, or you want the people to change, or you think the circumstances needs to change, what you're trying to do is make the pain go away. But if you can accept and understand that the pain is happening within you and that it has something to teach you, then you can learn and grow instead of having to fight up against something all the time. What we need is compassion and understanding for ourselves and for the world. So many people are lashing out because nobody feels heard. We need to learn how to listen to ourselves and our emotions and what's coming up, listen to our bodies, and listen to each other. So the first thing to do is to understand, what are these things that trigger you, teaching you about yourself. Every argument I have ever had in my entire life, with a partner, with family, whoever, I wanted so badly to be right. And so did they. And it just resulted in us feeling alone. And all we wanted was to be accepted and understood. Every time I've let my fear and my judgment, my ego, and essentially my opinion get in the way and be stronger than my heart, my compassion, and my understanding, I've just felt terribly alone. And it really hasn't led to resolution. About 10 years ago, I met a woman who taught me about the 7 Essene mirrors. And these are essentially the different mirrors of the relationships in your life. This is something I could probably make 50 videos about, but I'm just going to summarize a couple of them. So one of the mirrors is that which you are in the moment, meaning it's a reflection of your consciousness and what you're reflecting on in the moment. So for example, whenever I'm in a great mood and I go out into the world, I see other people who are in a great mood. Whenever I'm having a bad day, I go around and I just feel things and I see things that reflect my sadness. So it's that which you're being in the moment. Another one of the mirrors is that which you judge in another. And this points to something that's unintegrated within yourself. Another mirror is that which you have given away, lost, or had taken from you. And so this is kind of like where you've had your power taken away or lost or given away, your innocence. And so these are often tied to past events, especially in your childhood. And so you might find this in longing. Like, for example, I used to really admire dancers all the time, and I just thought they were just so amazing and so beautiful. And I was so drawn to people who were really, really creative and expressive. And it was reflecting to me this part that I had lost in myself. Growing up, when I wasn't dancing, I danced as a little girl, and then I didn't. I had a few things that came up for me that made me shut down my expression. And then by realizing my magnetic draw and attraction to people who are very expressive in dancing, I realized the mirror of, oh, that's inside of me. That's just something that I want to reawaken. Okay, so there's so many more mirrors. And if you're curious and interested, let me know in the comments if this is something that you'd like to learn more about, and I'll make more videos about them. But what I'm trying to illustrate is that everything in your life, every person and situation in your life can teach you something about yourself, especially when you're looking at your judgments of how another person is right or wrong. So as I mentioned, about 10 years ago when I learned this, I started asking my question, what is this person teaching me about myself? Or what is this situation teaching me about myself? And I would sit and I would listen to that, but I wasn't able to actually ask those questions until after I would shift out of the pain. So if I was extremely emotional and angry, I would have to resolve that in some way. And the way I would do that is I would just sit down and I would allow myself to feel that feeling, not make it wrong, not make it right, not make another person wrong or right, and not even try to change it, but give myself full permission to embody and welcome that feeling, knowing that it's happening for me to awaken to something greater about myself. Now, let me tell you, when I first started doing this, it was absolutely exhausting because I had a lot of resentment. I think I spent about 2 years really exploring every single thing that would trigger me. And I was exhausted, I'll be honest with you. I was doing it on my own, and I was pretty stubborn at the time, and I wouldn't ask for help. And I was just sitting there like a mad person, just writing and journaling and trying to understand what was going on and meditating. And it was quite overwhelming at the beginning. And eventually it got easier, and I started to not be hard on myself or on other people as much. So I had more freedom and also more self-awareness, so that things, when they would trigger me, instead of feeling bad, I would use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. When you're angry, it's harder to mobilize. It's harder to actually do things. People think, oh, anger will motivate you, but what is it motivating you to do? Something creative and constructive? Not usually. When you point the finger at someone else and you try to get them to understand why they're wrong, and you start to fight and you're fighting more and more, what's happening is, on the inside, you're at war with yourself. There's that saying, when you point the finger, there's one finger pointing forwards and three back. It's not a perfect analogy, but what the invitation is that when you get triggered, to look inside. The outside will not shift until you go inside. And let me tell you, nothing has shifted majorly in my life without this understanding, this new awareness of myself. Every single time, every single relationship, every single time I have healed something in relation to finances, in terms of success, in terms of my health, in terms of my relationships, every single thing in my life, what has preceded the shift is a new awareness of myself. And then with that new awareness, I don't have to work really hard. I don't have to convince the other person. I don't have to argue with them, because I understand why they're in my life and what they were teaching me. So I'm not mad at them anymore. And now I have a new awareness, and now I can understand where they're coming from and see them and their actions as a representation of the things that they've been through in their life and how they got to be that way. And now we can hear each other and share our hearts with each other, and we have connection, and we can be on the same team. My thoughts and my feelings are a reflection of me, and your thoughts and your feelings are a reflection of you. When we can take full responsibility for this, we can come together and understand each other so much better. And the people who are perfectly playing this perpetrator role so that you can play the victim and learn how to access your power, they're also going to have to face their own shit too. The problem is that people aren't looking about how reality works. They're looking at how society works and trying to play chess with each other. But as I mentioned, every single major shift in my life, my family, and my community, that's as far as I've started to see. I've seen them on a large scale, but like immediately I've seen this stuff ripple out into my communities just by me shifting my awareness. It's been so amazing. This has transformed my relationship with my mom, especially. When I would change something or learn something new about myself and have a new awareness and freedom and peace, simultaneously something my mom would go through would happen right around the same time, and she would have this amazing realization as well. And many of my clients have said similar things in terms of their family, their children, and their parents, that when they shift something, that their relationships seem to reflect a similar or complementary change. People think that we should never experience pain, but that's just not how this reality works. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that there's pain in this world. We live in the world of duality. We go through painful experiences and we learn from them, and they help us to grow the fastest. I'm not of the belief that you have to go through a painful experience to learn, but all of the things that I've experienced in my life that I feel so good about, that I've accomplished, that I've overcome, that I've been through, that I've learned and developed in myself, those things didn't come from reading a book or having an easy life or having all kinds of support and everything being really safe and perfect. Those things came from accessing something deep in my soul in my dark moments when things were really hard. Even just last weekend, I went rafting with a bunch of friends, and it was supposed to be this like lazy river, but because we had so much rain this spring, it was not a lazy river. One of the rafts popped, another person got like hooked in a tree, and it was a little bit scary at first. but that made the whole experience so much more dynamic and exciting, and it was an adventure. Lazy River would have been fun too, but wow, like the experience that we had, the rush, the life, the problem solving, the working together, everything that occurred from us having to navigate going along this river together with the twists and the turns that caused some fear, that caused a little bit of pain. You know, one person even had like this, like a panic attack because we had to go underneath the bridge and she was afraid of small spaces. Anyways, it was like really, really exciting. In the moment, it was like, okay, everybody's present, everybody's aware. But guess what? It was so awesome. In the end, we all were just sharing stories and all the things we learned and how we would do things different next time. And it was a real bonding experience. So why shouldn't we go through painful experiences? We learn so much from them. They help us to grow tremendously. And when we overcome challenges, it's like climbing a mountain. We feel so good about it. So instead of trying to not have painful experiences, what if we learned from them? What if we valued them as much as a crazy float down a river that kind of could have gone south, or a big, huge adventure up a mountain? What if we started to understand why we feel pain instead of obsessing over the pain and replaying situations in our mind and being mad and angry and projecting? What if we just felt it and began to understand what it's teaching us? Real pain actually comes from our ego not understanding the whole story. I don't even know what the whole story is, but I know that being at war with what is doesn't change anything. It just makes you more and more delusional, and it actually delays your ability to make any changes. Our real growth is when we don't need anybody to change. I've learned this the hard way, that one of the greatest freedoms is allowing others to have their own experience. What if you stopped taking away other people's opportunity to hit their lows? As I mentioned, the things where I truly found who I am came after me hitting a low point. That's where I've discovered my power. If you feel bad and you can't accept where people are at, like I used to think I have to help everybody, I have to save everyone. People can't go through bad things. It's my responsibility. I need to fix people. I need to help them. They can't go through something wrong. Let me show them how to do it. If you feel guilty or pity or obligation to change where people are at, it might be that you're afraid of your own low, or your own failure, or your own mistakes, or the judgment, whatever it is that you have on them. So you try to fix it in them. My question is, what feeling are you avoiding by thinking you need to save the world and avoid anybody ever feeling pain? Who says people shouldn't fall apart? It's kind of like the caterpillar turning to goo before it becomes a butterfly. I really, really resonate with that analogy a lot. I actually have a few butterfly tattoos on my body. Maybe I should get a caterpillar one as well. But honestly, what business is it to you to say that somebody should not be hungry, homeless, addicted, or in pain? I know that's a really bold statement, but I've experienced these things personally and learned a lot from having gone through that and who I've become in the process. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm not saying it's a goal to aim for, but if you don't let people hit a low, you're helping them avoid their darkness that they need to face on their own by themselves for real. So my invitation is to think of a person or a group or an organization or something that you want to change, or you think that they should be doing things differently. And take a few minutes and just be with the feeling that you get, the lump in your throat, the tightness in your chest, the fear and the shaking. Can you just take 5 minutes and be present with it? Not try to push it away or project it or anything, and just ask, what is this teaching me about myself? Don't try to do anything with it. Just be present, welcome it, allow it to be here. I'm curious about what it might be revealing for you. These are incredible moments where we start to break the mold. Most of what people do in their day-to-day is something that they learned based on their upbringing, based on other people's opinions and what their parents wanted for them, based on what's appropriate for the culture or social norms. And so a lot of people go through their day just kind of on autopilot. And what's happening in the world right now, this stuff that is scary, that's bringing up fear and pain for people, is an opportunity for you to shake things up and to really see who you are, not just the happy things, not just your happy life purpose, but all these aspects of yourself, some of which you've suppressed and hidden because they've been shamed and not allowed to live and don't have this feeling and don't feel that thing. And all of these things are crumbling apart so that you can see who you really are beneath all of it and how you can start to do things for yourself so you can trust yourself and do the things that are truly authentic for you because you want them, because it's what's true and aligned for you, rather than doing things because it's what everybody else wants you to do. So the invitation here is every time you think you want somebody else to change, something else, your mom, your partner, the government, your audience, your customers, whatever, if you sit down and be with the pain that is coming up, witness that the pain is happening inside of you, which means that it can also be healed inside of you. Allow it to be there and get curious about what is it teaching you about yourself. As I mentioned, when I first started learning how to do this, it was messy. It was hard to look at these things. It can be a lot easier when you have support and someone helping you to see these things. This is what I do every day with my clients. I help them to understand whether they're having some physical pain in their body, or they're arguing with their partner, or feeling distant from their partner, or they want to advance their career or get more clients, whatever it is that they're wanting that feels like a trigger. I help people to understand what their current circumstances are teaching them about themselves. And from that shift in awareness, their circumstances change. This is the easy button, by the way. If you've been trying to change things in your life with willpower, arguing, trying to convince people, trying to fight for things, there's a much easier way. If you're curious to learn more about how I can support you, come to thelivingnarrative.com. I kind of went all over the place in this video, and I would love to know if you have any questions in the comments below. If you're curious to learn more about the mirrors of life, it's such a complex and beautiful, incredible way to really start to look at things in the world. So if that's interesting to you, let me know in the comments. Here's a couple more videos you might be interested in. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.